What's up YouTube, Photoshooti here. And today we got a very special video because it's 1st of September 2021, which means we got the 10th year anniversary of the Tango Plan format. Yeah, that's right. It's exactly 10 years ago the September 2011 band list got released, which was the starting point of this format. Okay. First of all, before the format even started, we still had a YCS with Exceed Monsters, which was YCS Indianapolis. Generation Wars wasn't released before YCS Indianapolis, so we only got the first three Exceed Monsters in the structured deck, which were Gachi Gachi, Utopia, and Granosaurus. Um, but they still made a lot of impact, especially Granosaurus with Tour Guide from the Underworld and Sangan, because Kevin Turret did some kind of weird ruling where Exceed monsters or monsters which were under the Exceed monsters as Exceed materials still got their effects. So what this essentially means is that you could normal some tour guide, get the Sengan out of the deck, detach it with the Granosaurus, and get such an effect Veiler for the next turn. Uh, Plants was already the best deck of this format by far, but this let's say weird ruling pushed it to new heights. Um, but this was only the beginning for Tour Guide from the Underworld, which became one of the most relevant cards in the following format, but it was also a card that defined the meta of this tournament, which was, of course, won by Tango Plants. Next, we got the banned list changes, which occurred on this list, which was Fishboard Blaster, which got forbidden, of course, Mindmaster as well. Fishboard Blaster was, of course, in the Water Synchro deck. I had some kind of uses in a lot of combo decks with multiple Pot of Avarices. Then we had Mindmaster, which was a problem card, I think, with some FDKs. Giant Trunade, which was the mass removal of the March format. Um, but I will get back to that when we're going to see another card, which was actually limited, um, which was forbidden in the March banned list. And then we got Royal Oppression, which was a card that was also forbidden, which in my opinion makes the format even better because uh, having one Royal Oppression in the format can be kind of degenerate. So especially if you had a deck like Six Samurais in the meta, which could just set up Shien and set the random Royal Oppression, which wasn't that great. Um, then we got the limited changes where we first get a huge change because Blackluster Soldier in Void of the Beginning uh, made his return the first time after Gold format, and like in Gold format, he was one of the meta-defining cards in September 2011 as well. So maybe it was a bit too early to get him off the list, but still, he's a very iconic card, of course. So and was one of the best in September 2011. Then we had a lot of plant hits and samurai hits. First, Debris Dragon, which went from 2 to 1. Formula was unlimited and went limited as well. Six Samurai Shien was limited. Lone Fire Blossom for plants. Librarian for plants. Trishula was also limited. This was actually the last format before he was banned. I think he returned in 2015 though. Um, and then we got another huge change, which shaped the format, which is Heavy Storm. Because Heavy Storm, unlike Giant Tornado, changed the ways how backroad decks played. Because even if you got Giant Tornado, you still could uh, set down all your back rows because they would just get bounced. But when you get Heavy Stormed on for back rows, your back rows are gone. So um, A lot of back row heavy decks like Gravekeeper, for example, had to be a lot more careful about that. So I think it was a great addition to replace it with Giant Runade in this format. Then, of course, we got Pot of Avarice, which was limited and still a very strong card, even at 1. Primal Seed was also limited, just in case there was any kind of combo deck with Blackluster Soldier. And she and Smoke Signal went from 3 to 1, which was a huge hit to the consistency of Samurai. Then we got the semi-limited changes, where we got DeLorean, which was semi-limited, thanks to Symbol of Heritage. Necrogatna went from limited to semi-limited, which was a small push for Lightsworn. The same for Summoner Monk, which was last played in Cat Synchro as a, I would say, huge card in the meta. Tragodia went from 1 to 2, which was actually kind of great for a lot of decks with less back row, like the Agent deck, for example, or even some rogue decks like Monarchs. Destiny Draw went to semi-limited. It didn't do much. Swords of Revealing Light was semi-limited, which was kind of a forgotten card at this point. I think it went to unlimited in with the next list and never touched the band list again. Call of the Haunted went to 2, which was a nice push for a couple of decks, but wasn't that much to begin with. Mind Crush went, of course, semi-limited as well, which was relevant when the Darkwood deck got released. And then we got some cards which just went unlimited, so they went off the banned list, which were Judgment Dragon, which was a small push for Lightsworn, but it wasn't enough in the end, and Reaper, which was a card that was played in Tango Plans, but most of the time only at 1 or 2 even, so it wasn't even that much of a change, because there was absolutely no deck that would run a free Spirit Reaper, not even zombies. Then we got the Mega Morph, but which wasn't a problem at this point. Advanced Ritual Art was still limited, so there were no demise plays. MST went to 3, and Overlord Fusion to 3 as well. There were some MST is kind of a huge change and a hit to backrow decks again. And then you guys had cards that could get out of the list, and because they didn't do much. Overlord Fusion, Gravity Bind, which actually went from 1 to 3, which is not that typical for Konami, because if you look at the Swords of Revealing Light hit, normally they would just semi-limit the card first and look if it would do anything, and then get it from 2 to 3, but actually Gravity Bind was that irrelevant. They just pushed it from 1 to 3 immediately. And Icarus Attack went from 2 to 3, which was kinda some push for Black Wings, but it didn't do much because Kalut and Werewolf were still at 1, so the deck was kinda underwhelming. Then we got the legal set, the last legal main booster set, and well, we make the cutoff. The last legal booster set is Generation Force, which introduced more Exceed monsters like Levier or Leviathan Dragon, or Steals from Broach, which was a card against the Agent deck, or other synchro-based strategies. We also had Orient Dragon as well. And the cutoff is before Photon Shockwave, because Photon Shockwave introduced a couple of cards that changed the meta completely. For example, Rebel with the Avozas, and of course Wind Up Zenmains, which was a huge card, but also some kind of niche cards like One Day of Peace, for example, which was, in my opinion, only used in degenerate strategies most of the times, kind of non-interactive stall deck like Countdown or even Exodia. So playing the format without this card is way more enjoyable. Then there's some kind of split in the community regarding the inclusion of structured deck Gates of the Underworld. Some people play the YCS Toronto format because there were two YCS formats or YCS in this format, which YCS Toronto, which was before the structure deck release of Dark World, and without Legendary Collection 2, so you had some promos which came to the TCG like Great Tornado, which were excluded in Toronto format. And we got the YCS then the Columbus format, which had more refined decks. People knew at this point that Plants was the best deck. And Gate Dark World actually didn't do that much on the tournament. I think the first reason for that was that builds weren't that optimized. I think the first really optimized build was the build of Claudio Kirchmeier and Peter Gross at YCS Brighton, which was like a turbo variant without any Fabled Ravens. Also, people were prepared for this matchup. We had a lot of DD Crows, debunks for the. There were also debunks for the plant matchup, which could hit Darkwood as well, or cards like Shadow Imprisoning Mirror as well, or even Gemini Imps, which were huge hits for Darkwood. So I will do another video where I will specifically talk about the inclusion of the structured deck Gates of the Underworld or Legendary Collection 2 as well, because there are different opinions about this. Anyway, both formats still exclude Photon Shockwave, so that's the general consensus in the community to make the cut before Photon Shockwave. Next, there is some kind of format overview. I didn't want to do a tier list because I think I could showcase enough decks you could play. Because if I would call a deck a fun deck or a rogue deck, that would also mean that people would think, yeah, you can play them against any kind of meta deck, which wasn't my intention. So you, of course, have the plant deck, the agent deck, and Dark Worlds, if you include structured deck Gates of the Underworld, but also like Alchemist Chaos, which was a thing, TG Stun, which was probably the best stun deck of this format. Then decks that had random tops like X-Saber Karakuri, which was run by Jeff Jones at both Toronto's and Columbus events. Then you also got Heroes, Infernities, Scrap, which is a great rogue deck which wasn't that much, which was underexplored back in the day. Gladiator Beasts and Gravekeepers as well, which took a lot of hits with the limitation of Heavy Storm and the third Mystical Space Typhoon. Nordics actually topped an event as well. But there are also other decks that are quite fun. If you know my good friend Diego Renaissance, aka Necro, you know the zombie deck which we played against Pack, which is still a viable work option in my opinion. And you also got Fables is a thing. Black Wings is still a thing, even if it's very limited. The same for Lightsworn, which got some cards back, but could still not do anything in this format on a tournament basis. What you also have to consider is that the Lightsworn deck also suffers under those side-decked agent cards. And then you get Samurai, which was relegated to rogue status thanks to the limitations of Sheeran and Smoke Signal. You get Quick Draw, Psychics, even with one teleport, was still a deck you could play thanks to the support of Extreme Victory. You also had dragon decks that you could play, like the Disaster Dragon Turbo deck, which was already played in Anderson format, but still, or any kind of Dragoonity decks was still viable. Then you have the Piper deck, alternate win conditions like Burn, Countdown, Exodia, Empty Draw were a thing as well. But they are a bit weaker without cards like One Day of Peace or Card KD, but those decks still existed back in the day. Then you had gadgets and fun decks like Vulcan and Worm, which are still quite good, especially Worm if you consider that you could how strong W Nebula Meteorite is as a card. Then next we got staple cards. This is an older format, of course, so you got a lot of cards which were played in almost every deck, regardless of the type of deck or strategy. Of course, you had some difference in lists because not every list would Gravekeeper decks or Malefic decks would, for example, not run Monster Reborn sometimes, but most of the decks included those cards, which are Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Heavy Storm. Mind Control was a staple in most of the Synchro decks. Book of Moon, which is still a great removal, or is great flexible card to this day. Then of course the Mystical Space Typhoon, which was played at 2 or 3. You had 2 Solemn Warnings and 1 Judgment, which were probably the best traps of this format, and Torrential Tribute as well. Some people see Trap Dust Shoot as a staple. In the right decks, sure, but if you would go for kind of a slow grindy strategy, or like in a deck like TG Stun, then this card shouldn't be a staple in those kind of decks. But still, if you have a deck that wins very fast, like the Agent deck, for example, or the Tango Plant deck, which can do quite a lot of pressure, then sure, Trap Does Shoot is a great card for those decks. But I still personally wouldn't consider it a staple card, but it has its place, of course, in the format. Then we got Priority, which was a thing back in the day. It stopped being used as a ruling after YCS Long Beach. So YCS Long Beach in 2012 was the last event with Priority. After that, it got changed. So what this means is that the turn player has the ability to use an ignition effect, like for example Judgment Dragon, before your opponent could react with a card like Bottomless Trap Hole. So you you would summon the Judgment Dragon, and you had the priority to activate the effect first before your opponent could react, unless your opponent would activate a spell speed 3 card like Solemn Warning or Judgment, because in that case the card is not going to hit the field. The turn player also had the priority to perform the first action after going into main phase 1. This was also something that was changed. What this meant was that cards like Bottomless Trap Hole became a bit weaker, because even if you would remove the monster, cards like Chaos Sorcerer, or Blackluster Soldier could still remove something, or even Master Hyperion that could still destroy one card. Then we got YCS winner of this format, which is actually only one person, even though you had 2 events, because Billy Bragg won both YCS Toronto and YCS Columbus back to back, which is an insane achievement. He almost replicated in 2017. Where he won YCS Bochum with Metal Force at 2016, and on the next YCS, which was in Prague, he almost won the event again. I think he played Infernoids, if I'm not wrong, but he couldn't beat Joshua Schmidt in the final of this tournament. The funny thing is, he actually faced Joshua in Bochum before that, so he won in Bochum the final, and Joshua won in Prague. But yeah, in the September 2011 format, he won both events back to back, so the Toronto format and the Columbus format with Dark World, and he used Tango Plans both times. And I think most of the people are very familiar with this build. It's probably one of the most iconic winner deck lists you could see. So yeah, Billy Bragg, a well-known name in the community, countless YCS tops, countless multiple YCS wins. He's a commentator this day, but I think he did everything you could do in regards of success in the Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. So now it's the question: where can I play this format? And in of course, you got a lot of options online, which are not probably not which are not going to be uh, that restricted by any COVID rules. So you first got the Decades of Duels Discord, which mainly focuses on September 2011. The Format Library Discord, which has a lot of formats where you could still play the Tangoplan format as well. But they decided to exclude YCS Columbus and play with the YCS Toronto format, so no Dark World. Decades of Duels includes Dark World, so there's the difference. Then we got our own Discord, Tango Plant Town, which includes Dark World as well. So you can see quite a lot of some kind of split there. The Pack Discord actually excludes Dark World as well, but there were no tournaments, so I don't know if they would change that if they wanted to do any kind of tournament. And then you got Dueling Book and Adder Pro in general, where you have to look up. A lot of people would queue for any kind of retro format, and sometimes you could see also September 2011 if you wanted to play that on Dueling Book. And yeah, there's also the option for remote duels, which you can do on any of the Discords. Then we, of course, got other channels for this format, which are going to support it and cover it. Of course, we got Who Needs Meta, which is someone who's playing almost every retro format, but he plays a lot of September 2011. Then we got Park, who covered the format and got quite a lot of gameplay there. But his main focus is, of course, current Yu-Gi-Oh! But you can still get September 2011 content there. Then, of course, we got Yu-Gi-Oh! History. He did only one September 2011 video, which was the Tango Plant deck, which he played back in the day. Jojo Lando topped both YCS Toronto and YCS Columbus, so he had a lot of success as well in this format. But the video he did is very good. It covers a lot of the essence of this format and a lot of the things you need to know. And Pack actually Pack actually saw the video first of Jojo Lander and decided to start playing this format. Then we got, of course, my good friend the Yu-Gi-Oh! Renaissance, who uploads occasionally some deck profiles, and he also played against Pack on stream, where he showcased his favorite deck, Zombies. And of course, we got the Tangoplan Town channel, which is, of course, the channel for Discord, where we're going to cover a lot of stuff of this format roots as well. So this was the video. I hope I could introduce the format a bit to you guys. If you want to play this format, join, of course, our Tango Plant Town Discord and all the other ones as well I covered. If you want to get any kind of lists on our Discord, I got a deck list for all the decks which have their own channel. And you could also talk with all the players if you're new to this format. I'm sure they are going to help you. So this was my format introduction to the September 2011 format. I hope you guys liked the video. So if you want to see more September 2011 content, make sure to subscribe. Until then, see you later.